Hi, I'm here to just talk a little bit about vertical sky component and what it is. And so, as it says here, um, the ratio of the luminance at the point on a given plane within the interior due to light received directly from the sky of assumed or known luminance direction to a horizontal plane due to an obstructed hemisphere of the sky. Direct sunlight is excluded from both values of illuminance. So, in other words, and I don't know if this is the best way of explaining this, right? But um, it's kind of like saying how much of the unobstructed sky can you see? So, like, if you disregard there being clouds or birds or those type of things, and you don't think about direct sunlight, like how much of the sky can be possibly seen from that specific point. So, if you're standing on the ground, you'd be able to see 180 degrees of the obstructed sky, more or less. That would be 100% of vertical sky component, right? VSC. So if you then think about how much of the sky can you see if you're looking out from a window, that means that theoretically it's like 50%, I suppose, of the sky that you can see, right? But in actuality, I believe when you do this type of simulation, the maximum defined is 40%, because of like how the hemisphere works and whatnot. So 40% in vertical sky component, that's maximum, right? So that's something to think about. Like for instance, with this one, it goes all the way up to 100%, and it might not be necessary. I'm not going to change that since that's how the script is working right now. And so with the script, you're basically making first some faces. This makes sense considering that we don't really need to have like a room or anything, and it's enough to just put in the faces. Just because it's faces we're talking about does not mean you need to use surfaces. You can use extrusions or preps or meshes or whatnot. So, for instance, if you extruded something just like this, or even if we're talking about something more complex, this is going to work as well. Just remember, like these type of splines, complex shapes might be more problematic, can be worth to just make them into rebuild. So you remove the degrees and you can ramp up the amount of well polygon parts, and it will still be a good approximation of the shape, right? So something to have in mind if it's struggling. Either way, the second part is the shade. Right? So this is everything that might shadow the main structure. So in here, you would put like the roof of the building and everything surrounding it. Then then you basically put it into this HP sensor grid from faces, And here we'll create a grid out of the different surfaces you put into the model. And face type, that's if you're working with an extrusion, for instance, then face type will define what is a wall, what is a roof, and whatnot. And if it's vertical, then it will understand that this is a wall and pick that. You can, of course, give it a hint that you want both walls and roofs, for instance, or something similar. But in general, I just kind of continue using the walls because that's what matters in most cases. And this is just how refined the simulation should be. One is pretty refined, so no need to go smaller than that unless you have a tiny building. And finally, we plug this in. We get create a model through HP assigned grids and views, and then we can simulate the vertical sky component. And this is basically what shows the heat map, right? Using the data. And if we look here, we can see that this is going to be the basic map mesh, right? And all of those panels will be put in the same kind of order so that everything matches up. So the results you get from the vertical, the sky view is basically just a list of data, and each of them is corresponding to each panel on this mesh, right? So that's how this component is basically showing the heat map of the building. And of course, you can later on maybe adjust so that, let's say, the max is 40, and that will probably give you some better understanding of where to kind of, like, so let's say maybe like now, since these are percent, I'm not going to be entirely sure, but probably around here is going to be like 26%, and maybe this is a good estimation of when does it start getting red, when do we have that like 15 or maybe 10% that isn't like that good anymore. And you probably want to add a few more colors in the future, but this is something to think about. So basically, to not just assume that all of these values are perfectly correct from the get-go. Yeah, and so I hope this was somewhat informative, and good luck. And remember that this you don't necessarily have to think of this as something you have to correct or so for tomorrow. This is mainly to just talk about this simulation in case you want to continue working with this for the next phase of this project.